Because these are video game controllers, as you well know.
Yeah.
And they do have a little device in them that when you shake
Recording?
them, it's a part of the game.
So think about that.
really?
So,
That's why it rattles a little.
Yeah.
But, almost any mic, if you go, will do something.
and I noticed
Right on, Chaka Khan.
Even all this is...
I need like
Hear anything?
a windscreen or some shit because a lot of times I'm just going behind the mic.
Hey there, Snooky.
And so that's no good.
Yeah. 'cause
I
those
don't
are
like
those
to listen to that shit.
that I try to go through and cut those out.
Are we
smoother,
30
but-
seconds in? to
Oh,
the
yeah, this is
podcast?
GMR Podcast 22, the first, I guess, regular podcast in a while. It's the last
Yeah.
4 have been live and on location.
Action packed.
Crazy.
I'm Marty Catola.
I'm Gene Mott.
And I'm Stephen Howell.
Wow.
He's my real name today.
Used his real name. Crazy.
I'm feeling on today.
That's right.
I drove here.
That's right. He finally got his van.
I don't take the Mutant Express anymore. Yeah, you guys
Crazy.
talked about my van in the first podcast. Like GMR number 1
my
or something.
pen.
You're like, Steve-O's got a
Oh,
van.
back in the
remember?
day, the early
It made
podcast.
me was horribly depressed. You know?
Oh,
It's
wow.
Like I was like, I gotta get working. I was like washing windows, listening
So it
to the first.
inspired you.
Yeah, I was washing windows.
Power of the
listening-
podcast.
Back in like February, March, like by like April. It was already March or April, and I'm like, yep, January, probably 2 weeks into January, guys, I'll have it, no problem.
You were optimistic, that's for sure.
Today is what's
Today
the date?
is June 7th.
June 7th.
Wow.
I got it. I got my van 2 days ago. I got my van on June
We thought we
5th.
were going to have it for Comic-Con. We talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
We pulled it off, though.
No, we
Yeah,
all
it was
jammed
rad.
into Marty's little car. Not
did-
that little.
Okay, how did the radiator water treat your clothes? It got some of mine, too, but it washed right out.
Yeah, it was
So-
fine.
Yeah.
And,
it looked nasty for
Yeah.
a second.
I just
but
have one down pillow that has a black mark because I don't know what to do with it. Like putting the down pillow in the wash.
You brought a pillow to Comic-Con?
It's a stupid mistake, I know, but I had visions of me sleeping on the floor, maybe.
Yeah. We all had visions of that.
And then they brought me into bed.
Yeah, the rollaway for not giving us a smoking room.
Yeah, the compensation.
Yeah.
Those bastards.
It was so funny though to see I wake up every second, so every time Ray went down for a smoke, it was like click, my eyes open,
No.
and I see him like with this look on his face of like he's easing everything, like trying so hard not to wake us up.
And also listening to the podcast on loop all night.
Oh yeah, that's what that was.
I liked that.
Yeah.
You guys, it wasn't even our podcast. We were listening to...
Yeah, it would have
Tell
been
him
too
Steve
weird
Dave.
to listen to GMRs all night because it would have been like, quit talking.
The first night it felt like it was still winter, didn't it? 'Cause I left the air conditioning down next.
Oh, it was so freaking cold. Yeah, we haven't talked about that, how cold it was in there that first night.
I put it on 69 so it could cool off for a while.
I walked in, Ray was covered up with a towel, like just one towel, sleeping on the floor with the cushions from the couch.
Yeah, that's great.
And it just looked cold as shit, and I'm just like, damn, Ray, that's awful.
I didn't even think to turn the...
No, and me, control freak, right away I touch the thermostat and forget about it.
I don't think I even saw the thermostat the whole 3 days.
Well, I knew, I don't know what it was. We just came from hanging out in the parking garage or something for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
We were just
Hauling all
hot.
that stuff back and forth.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you guys were all moving
Yeah.
all that stuff.
It blew me away, all those escalators. Like, I don't know. For some reason, it just seemed like a surreal experience riding on the escalators. And especially because some of that wasn't necessary. We kind of were taken. We were taken by all these fancy rides.
Yeah, we were going the wrong way.
Oh,
It's
if
like-
you look at the map,
Yeah, it was like all we had to do is cross the street and go.
What
through
we
a
were
different
doing
door.
was going into building, going in. Oh,
Taking
click.
the scenic route.
We
We
can,
went,
we
like,
all,
all the
we
way
can all
around
actually look at
into-
these ourselves. We have enough of them sitting here.
So what are these? The
The
post?
pops
Where,
and clips are
where'd
part
you
of
get
it.
that?
That's
Oh, that's an old one.
that's like one of the
Oh,
first promo things they put
Oh.
This
out.
is what they mailed to us. We got this like the week before or a
Wow.
couple days before.
And they mailed you a big one.
a big one.
Wow, they
I got the
they
big
didn't mail
one in
me
the
a
mail.
big one.
See, I was
But
under
I
the
didn't see
impression
an
the
address
the
on
first
it.
years that they were only this big. The programs were smaller. I was like thinking totally off on the side, left
So
field.
we went in. We'd go from the Regency over into the West Building, which is what was happening in the West Building.
We'd go down to the exhibitor floor, then go back up the escalator, and then go out of the building. When all you had to do was just go to the left side and walk straight through.
Yeah.
Remember the food court? If you just went through the food court,
Yeah.
you ended up somewhere we wanted to be too. I remember. Just
So
going
we
straight
we'd
one
go
time.
to the West Building. That's where you would you went down. We went downstairs for whatever reason, and across, and then we'd go up past the food court over to the North Building. It was just fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
The amount of
So fun. Though.
distance
so fun.
we spent. But if we'd have used that extra energy and just focused on doing things, right?
Extra energy. Is
Well,
there
that
such a thing?
Well, I'm just saying if we'd have used that energy for going, let's say, straight to the place we wanted to go,
And there-
boom, and then we're there.
Well, we learned our shortcuts as the days went on.
As the days went on, hopefully we can take these back next year when
I-
there's going to be way too many fucking people
Oh,
there.
yeah, there was already too many people. And it's
But
gonna
now
be
we know what
insane
to
next
do.
year.
I think one funny thing I didn't tell you guys about was I had this. I was watching them.
This time I'm going to start taking those dirty exits out, you know?
I-
And just
That's the escape
use
exit
those for
only.
That thing hadn't
shortcuts.
been
You
used
know what
in
I
a
mean?
long time.
Use
There
those
won't be
for
anybody
That'll
shortcuts.
set off an alarm if you go out that door.
Oh right, yeah, that was the emergency exit. Huh? Maybe that's the whole reason it was off.
We got extra experience. Nobody gets to go down that.
Extra
You're
experience
not allowed.
points.
That was filthy. Can you imagine wearing your super nice costume
You guys
and then
unlocked
going
the
through that
special
filthy
character,
thing?
the lunch lady.
You don't even realize what. Yeah, it was just. I knew it. It was like when
This
fucking
tray has a magnetic
syphilis
strip on
put
it.
his hand in my face. As soon as
Oh,
I
yeah,
touched,
on the last show. Yeah.
as soon as I touched that the handrail, I knew. This is pretty fucking dirty. Nobody's come up these stairs
Yeah.
in a while. They had not anticipated this when they
Sludge. It was sludgy.
But the funniest thing, I was at this Doctor Who. It was just teaching you how to make these little robots. I don't know anything about Doctor Who.
How'd
I
you
don't
end
love
up
it
there?
or,
You
or
somehow
hate
ended
it.
up.
I ended up there with Jessica.
Oh.
And like totally just so bored. 'cause
I
they're
didn't know
just
those
teaching
girls
you-
were into Doctor Who.
Yeah, way too much for my taste, I guess. But
They-
I've never seen it, so I don't know. It's just like really boring for me because all the people there were. It was funny. We were a little bit loud, and I was like, being talkative, trying to talk to her. Some girl
Oh, you can't
turns
be.
around and is like, "Excuse me, sir. If you're not interested in this, would you please leave?" Or, it's
Well,
just
yeah.
like so.
It's just like that Star Wars trivia thing that was
Yeah.
horrible.
They're like, if you're not absolutely thrilled, could you please take a hike? It was
Well,
like,
that's the way it probably ought to be. You
but it was
know?
actually, it was funny because I was watching it from like a handyman standpoint, and I'm like, well, obvious. And they're like, oh, there's a little program out there called GarageBand, and I'm like, duh. I was like kind of like being a little.
That's how
12-year-old.
we podcast.
Yeah, I was kind of just like being a dick. It was my natural response to be like, well, duh, you would use plywood, or it was easy arts and crafts shit,
So how's the radio voice?
I don't know. How is the radio voice? You got the
Radio-
headphones on.
Radio voice.
How's it working out?
I don't know if you've been
If I've been using it or not?
yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh.
Gene has this wrestling voice. It's not a radio voice. It's more like a wrestling voice.
So, you been in contact with those girls?
No.
That is not my wrestling. That is not my radio voice. Hey, you been in contact with those girls?
No, I have not.
No.
But I have not thrown a text out there, so.
Ah, crazy, man.
can't
Maybe they're
say.
listening to the
You
podcast.
never know. Hello.
Hey, if you are,
2
what's
days from
happening? Comic Con. Tabitha and Jessica. Totally, here we are.
Yep,
Woo,
we're here.
wrestling boys.
We had fun.
So what were we talking about earlier? Those electronic cigarettes, the smokeless
yeah.
cigarettes.
They had those in the 80s with like a rod in the middle that would get hot.
We were talking, yeah, I see it's because I smoked the vapor cigarette, and I've quit smoking cigarettes now for 6 months by just carrying around random batteries and vaporizers and abusing the hell out of them. I guess that's how we got started on this.
Yeah, they hadn't invented that in the 80s. They
Yeah, we were
decided,
talking about some
let's
crazy
heat
thing.
up the tobacco, and then those were called off the market.
Oh, so it was kind of like an early vaporizer, like they had the vaporizers that heat the things.
Some kind of weird attempt at,
Kind of like the vapes that they have.
incinerating the tobacco, I
And
suppose.
then dumping out the charred remain.
No, it just burnt like a cigarette, and then there was like this charcoal stem that would be left, that like a pencil lead that ran down the middle of it.
Weird, like those little
Pretty sure they
firecrackers.
were called Capris.
Capris are actually the really thin ones.
Yeah, Capri still exists.
Didn't they have their version of or something? Well, anyways, at GMR Podcast, if you know the answer to that smokeless
Yes,
tobacco
please.
product from
Send us a
the mid '80s, and no, it
Yeah.
was not like chewing tobacco. It was
actually like an early
it was
vaporizer.
like a weird cigarette. They were definitely skinny. I remember that.
If you were at the top of your game in 1982, rocking and rolling, trying to quit smoking, and you bought one of those,
Oh, it was
Let
more
us
around
know.
85 to
85.
88, something
Black
like
Flag
that.
had just died. Everybody was bummed out quitting smoking. So,
What?
I don't know. I'm just trying
He's
to...
setting the mood of the year of
There
the
you go.
smokeless
There you go.
cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 86, really.
We were also using smokeless ashtrays back then.
Oh,
quite
yeah.
frequently.
Oh, yeah. And
We still have a broken one of those. We have a broken smokeless ashtray that's like a Ronco or some shit, right?
You know what they had is those smokerators at every airport. You could just go to these rooms. That was great. Wasn't that great?
Do you remember those
They still
aroma
have that.
discs?
They still have them in like a few southern.
You remember those aroma
airports.
discs that look like
New
vinyl?
Orleans. The what? Aroma discs? Look
Yeah,
like vinyl?
look like vinyl. You remember that, Marty?
Yeah, yeah.
Aroma discs. No.
Like
Stick ups.
like
Weird.
early,
Stick ups.
like early, yeah, that sort of shit. But they were like flavors like your cigarette is,
Huh. Wow.
and you could just fill the whole room with that smell.
Mm-hmm.
When they look like little pieces of vinyl, like little records, little
They're
3-inch.
in between a urinal cake and a.
The air freshener with the weird jelly thing in it that you crack.
Oh
the
yeah,
thing
those
and
things were crazy.
They dry up.
Those freaked me out when I was a kid. You ever like cut them open
Oh, of
and,
course.
and play with that shit? Like, what's going on?
Oh,
You ever eat it?
No,
it makes you turn into a bath salt zombie.
it probably was the bath salt of its day, and we just didn't know.
We didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I was.
I
an
knew not
anarchist
to try to
cookbook guy.
ingest that.
I
The
was
You
a
weren't-
kid trying to
it's
smoke
because
peanut
we
shells.
used-
smelled too heavy.
Tried to smoke banana peels. Didn't work.
That's silly.
I
I
used to
ate
hold
nutmeg.
vinyl up to a light bulb
Oh. Or,
And melt it?
and melt it, and try to melt it back,
No,
so it would still play.
I used to do it with like old
Shrinky
records I didn't
dinks on
like.
your
I'd
dashboard.
melt.
On the
I'd
dashboard
melt
of the
with
car.
a lighter, and then I would jam an action figure into it, and then it would freeze in that position.
Isn't
and
it amazing that the house never burnt down?
It is crazy. I remember one time, me and my friend were in there, and I had a can of hairspray, and I was like,
Aquanet.
I was something like that, and I was gonna blow. You know, I was like a torch,
Yeah.
right? You know,
That's
blow
what I did to
a flamethrower.
Batman.
And I did that in a closed room with no ventilation, so it quickly ate up all the oxygen in the
That's
room.
how you learn.
And then we quickly found ourselves suffocating in a fucking in a room. It was crazy
Wow. Like, were you like,
because it was pretty big flame
that's great.
in a small room. It's not that fun a trick. You know,
Not
this
advised.
stupid shit we used to do as kids. What other
Right.
kind of stupid shit did you used to do, Marty?
Oh, everything you could think of.
Well, think of one.
Things
Let's-
involving fire,
gasoline.
Oh yeah, if you get a hold of anything. I remember all the kids three wheeling on northwest
Yeah,
side.
I know,
they weren't
right?
supposed to ripping through those
Going the hiking
washes.
trails.
Freewheeling
Yeah, on the like
on their
Hondas.
ATVs.
Yeah.
I used to do that in two-back with my friend.
Those were brand new back then.
Those were
new.
brand new.
Those
That
were
was
new
around
back then.
83, 84, and they're just ripping and tearing through those washes because it was like
I remember it was
pretty
really-
freaking dangerous.
Yeah, it was exciting. You're like
They
12
didn't want
years
us in
old.
the washes anyway, but we always hung out in those
Oh
washes.
fuck yeah! You had to
Which
hang
one?
out in the wash. Any wash, the closest one to your house.
Exactly,
No, I
like a
did every
campfire.
kind of bad thing you can think of in that wash.
Right?
Everything. Think of something. Think of
Oh, yeah.
something. And I probably did it in that wash at one time or another. I don't think I ever took a shit in the wash.
But there was
shoplifted
there was
the
There
shit
was
in
shit
the
in the
wash.
wash, and you were
There
totally
was.
willing to step over it to get to wherever you had to go.
Right?
As a kid, seeing the wash for the very first time,
He was like freedom.
you're just transfixed by the graffiti.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
look, there's a piece of shit right there.
Someone was
And
actually
you know that's
gonna
not
do that.
animal shit.
Yeah, someone was actually hard up enough
You know,
to crap.
you come across
They woke
somebody's
up.
camp,
Yeah.
somebody's living here, right?
You
You're
go
a
to
kid.
Reddington
You don't
Pass.
care.
Do you ever
I
go to
don't have any
Reddington Pass?
concept of
when
You
you're
don't
like
care.
12 and end up seeing
You
like
fuck with their shit because you don't care because you're 12.
so-
You're just like, hey,
yeah.
whatever, guys. And you,
I figured it was older kids being down there and doing stuff.
yeah, you
But
didn't
really?
know.
I didn't know about homeless people.
Yeah, they come back at the end of the day. Their camp is totally fucked and all their shit's gone. You're like,
like somebody
God
picked up my
damn.
crap. Damn it.
8-year-old kids in the
Their
washes.
shit's gone. Oh wait, never mind.
You'd sneak cigarettes down there and shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'd smoke a whole pack of Camels.
You know,
come
cigarette
back.
butts and shit with the little bit on the end.
Yeah, I found all kinds of stuff out in the wash. I was like an archaeologist, for God's sake. I'd have like I'd have a drawer, and I'd show my friends, like, look
a
what I found.
drawer?
A drawer. No, I had a drawer at home of all
These
these
drawings.
metal items. I found a pocket knife, a pipe.
Oh, look what I
didn't
found
know
out
what
in
a
the
pipe
wash.
was
Oh,
back
cool.
then.
Yeah.
And I'm like 10, right? And I'm like,
That's what we
"What?"
did.
I showed my brother that this pipe. He's like, you should throw that away right now.
Let's walk around the neighborhood
like,
and see
what?
what trouble everybody was getting into. Oh,
Yeah.
we're making ants fight each other today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a microscope kit, and I'm
I
using
brought
the
some
slide
ants from
glue to
all
put
the way on
ants.
the other side of town. We're going to put them in your big ant hill in the front of your yard.
Yeah, did you ever catch the scorpions and the tarantulas and then
Oh,
put
yeah.
everything in the jar and see
Oh, yeah,
if it
yeah.
would be like a crazy Royal Rumble, or they would like sit down and hold hands and play Kumbaya or what? And usually nothing happened.
I remember vicious ant battles between giant red and giant black ants.
See, that's always smart. You got to put the black and red ones against each
'Cause
other.
everybody's front yard was dirt and maybe a couple of cactuses. And
Yeah.
some of the people's yards were just nothing but dirt.
Yeah,
and that's all
remember-
we did.
And the BMX bikes, you could just make these awesome jumps, and like there'd be a construction site, right? And there'd be like a big pile of sand, big pile of sand, big pile of sand. You could just ride your
Oh,
bike
yeah.
and ramp off
Making
one
ramps.
and land into
Yeah,
the other.
yeah.
You
It was
kinda
all about you
throw
had to
your
have a bike.
It was all about the bike.
Yeah.
Skateboard, what? You know, that took a
Splatter
few more
paint
years
Huffy.
to come
You
mainstream.
messed with the skateboard, but you weren't that good with
All
it
we had
because
was
you-
that skinny, plastic,
Yeah, yeah.
flimsy skateboard.
it wasn't like it is
Yeah,
today.
the Nash skateboards.
It was plastic.
Remember?
They were always plastic.
Then Back to the Future happened, and boom, skateboard.
It wasn't like I never saw a wooden skateboard.
No, not back then. It was always everybody
always
had the
the plastic.
flimsy little
90s,
skateboard in
yeah.
the yard. Nobody fucked with it. We were all too preoccupied with our bikes.
We had things like we had that thing the fucking you bounce up and down in one.
Trust me, ET made the bike
It was like
thing
that
go
ball?
even crazier.
No, you
The
bounce
pogo stick?
The pogo stick.
yeah,
we had
yeah.
pogo sticks.
Remember the ball?
Pogo
though?
balls. Yeah. That came later.
That
Remember the
was
sit
a
and
great way to
spin?
kill yourself.
And you
Oh, sit and spin.
and
No,
just-
no.
And toys to make you puke.
Yeah.
You didn't
Stop
like to
and
sit
then
and
go back the
spin.
other way. Oh, there was a time where I guess the equilibrium was better when you're a kid, where you could do that shit.
I was like a little
Once you get to a
ninja.
certain age, you're like,
You-
oh,
you
I
would-
can't do
You
that
wouldn't do the
anymore.
sit and spin anymore.
Well, actually, I recently did a flip and
That
a
would
jumping
probably- that would
castle
probably hurt
a
me.
couple months ago, and
All these things would hurt us.
I
What are we
pulled the
doing in the
muscle in my
wash? We're
back
gonna
the
fucking
next day.
Well,
right.
the wash is when I was a little kid, not
Yeah.
supposed to be in the wash.
What about like that video you shot with in the wash? You weren't that
Well, that was us kind of
Chris Duncan.
reliving stuff, I guess.
Chris Duncan jumping in the water.
That
Come
was
on,
20
jump
years
in the
ago.
water.
Oh, well, that's the
That's
Llorrona movie.
hardcore, dude. Well, that's what I'm talking. Well, that all comes from your experiences
that
in
is.
the wash,
That's
right?
kind of like making a movie about the washes.
You know what's funny is like
I
That's
know,
La
but you
Llorona
jumped in the
wash.
water. See, I was never.
I never got in the water.
No,
You know what
you
did you ever go
who
back
else
to the
jumped in
wash
water?
after?
Duncan
Let's
got in the
let's
water.
explore this fact.
Hey.
He's the only one who got in the water. Hey, Steve.
I'll put a link up to this video we're talking about on
This is pretty
our
exciting.
Twitter.
You know, Chris Duncan. This guy jumped in the water
in the
wash.
Reddington Pass or what?
No, just in a wash. What wash was it?
That's where I would go to the water. is
Somewhere
Reddington.
around Santa Cruz River. It had gotten nice and flooded and looked like swampland.
I remember trying to cross like those kind of places,
And
and
what about-
you'd have to go way up on the side, right? I'd always go around it. I would always go around
He
it.
wanted to go through it with
He-
the video camera.
he
We
was-
would have been up to our necks, and he would have been holding that camera.
He was fucking hardcore because you knew what that water was. If you ever stopped and looked at like little fucking pockets of it, that's not good
Yeah,
water.
no way. I wasn't getting.
Yeah, there's like
That's-
those little
that's-
weird
that's
crawdads
human
that would
poop.
live
movie
for
or
like
no
3
movie.
weeks.
Oh yeah, I remember one time we used to catch these.
Crawdad thing.
We used to go down there to catch like fucking tadpoles, right? And we caught this fucking weird little fucking thing. I don't know what it was, but it evolved and it ate all the fucking frogs.
It evolved. It's learning. It's learning, guys.
No, it
covered
can't.
the
It was,
bag.
it was like, and then we put it in this fish tank, and it with all these little, it ate all the fucking goldfish.
It's evolving. It's
I'm
evolving.
serious, dude. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was crazy.
It's tripled in size in only
Horrible.
one day. So
And
basically,
these
it was
things, these alien things, are
this is like
living amongst
predator
us
blood.
already. Is
It's
what
like-
I'm saying,
Well,
dude.
that's
Drops
what
of
we
alien
did
blood.
before internet.
in a puddle.
That's what we did. We went out and played with puddles in the fucking in the wash.
And every now and then, a Teenage Mutant Ninja
Sun
Turtle
going down,
puddle had
time to go
exist,
home.
right?
There was no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle,
There wasn't.
or we didn't know about it.
At one point, I lived on a circle on the northwest side, so you just
Yeah.
walk around the whole block and just see what shit
Well, see,
people
Country
were getting
Club
into.
would flood.
Occasionally, we'd spread off on the bikes. It was Ina Thornydale area
Mm.
before the Menlo Park years.
See, I was
where
right
I
in
suddenly
Glen.
moved to the ghetto.
I was right up the street
I
from
used to
him.
hang out up in that area, and we'd go over to the Kmart up there
Oh yeah,
and play fucking. I had a friend that
that was
lived up there,
forbidden area for me.
and we'd go up there and play fucking in television and shit like that until they'd kick us out of the store.
Yeah, that's when I walked to 7-Eleven to play one game of Zaxxon in the rain, and then had to walk all the way back home and get splashed by cars and
For
shit.
one
Oh,
game
remember
of
when you'd have to
Zaxxon.
take
Yeah.
streets?
And it would
you
be
just keep
over
going
pretty
down.
it was
quick.
over so fast.
You ever try to go home and the water takes you a mile out where
that's-
you're not supposed to be? You're like, you keep going right because the water's rushing. I'm trying to get home, and I ended up going so far out
Stuck
of my
out
way.
on McGee Road and
Yeah,
shit.
I was on the wrong side of Stone, and I ended up at some park, and all these crackheads were like looking at me, and I make a run in Converse All Stars to jump over this puddle. I found a part that was thin enough.
There weren't
I
crackheads.
slipped. They were crackheads because they
What
were
I-
actually smoking crack.
Well, I'm just saying. I wasn't saying that. I'm just saying
Oh.
there weren't that many crackheads when I was a kid.
Yeah, this was in
I
bad
wasn't
area.
aware
I
of that,
wandered
yeah.
my way to a
I
bad
wasn't
area,
aware of it.
and so I slipped.
But you
fall
grew up right in the
into
middle of
rushing
that.
water up to my neck, Gene. And I actually
sure.
fell.
You gotta stay away from those flash floods.
I
That's why
actually-
they
yeah,
said don't
that's
play in
what
those washes because the
I
flash flood will
slipped,
get you.
and it was rushing
Wow, you-
up to my neck.
The flood of '82 was 82 or '83. That big
Yeah.
flood. I know you remember that, right?
That was in high school.
That's when we were playing in the washes a lot, and they were like, "Don't go in there, you're gonna get killed." And the kids were down in that water
Yeah.
anyway. I don't remember anybody getting washed away, but they closed our elementary school and
I
made
remember
people
being
stay
a
there
little
in
kid and
shelter
seeing-
shit.
You know that dip right there at Copper? You know the
We're
dip?
about due for another one.
I got in a wash one time when it was all me and my friend. I don't know what we were doing. We were fucking right in the middle of it, and the only thing that fucking kept me from getting probably swept away was just like a root
I seen
you
the
know?
car nose down.
that I was holding on
Wow.
to.
Get in the water is right.
So it's like a root. It was basically like a Star Wars scene for you.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sarlacc pit. That's what we used to do in the dirt. Is dig the Sarlacc
Sarlacc
pit
pit.
over and over again. Throw
Just
the
a
Star
little
Wars
higher.
figures in.
That
there.
reminds me of
Oh, yeah.
Richard Christie's butthole. Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, tasting the beer.
Tasting beer. I got to listen to that episode, man.
What's
And I shouldn't probably tell other people other podcasts because then they'll listen to that podcast and not maybe like that better than ours. But Nerd Poker is really good. Nerd Poker.
Nerd
These
poker.
guys play D&D.
And make a podcast out of it. Right?
Yeah, celebrities, writers and stuff. Yeah, Brian
Seth
Posehn.
Green, right?
No, Brian Posehn and friends.
Yeah, me and Ray and James met him at Coachella. He's just walking through the crowd.
What's Coachella?
That
What's Coachella?
that
Tell
3-day
him, Marty.
concert they have in Indio,
Oh
California.
yes, I have a flyer for it. Zoinks! I have a flyer for it.
It's like
that
Comic-Con,
dude.
but just with bands.
Comic-Con with bands.
Who gave me a flyer?
5
was really
stages going
adamant
all
that I went
day.
to Coachella. It was the guy from Ed Zombie Ranch. Maybe?
It's a blast. It's expensive to go out there, but
Did
it's
you
a
guys get
blast.
flyers from Coachella?
Ah,
Because somebody gave me that flyer and was
Well,
like, "You gotta come to
They're
this."
pretty prominent flyers every year.
I can't remember.
I
who it
see
was.
them
It was
all
one of
over the
people-
place. So.
It was one of the people we were with. It was either your friend who was starring in your that we were talking to, maybe. I don't think so. I
What?
think it was actually the guy that was in the
'cause
Zon.
Coachella
Alien.
was a while ago. It
Yeah,
was
there's
last
one
month.
This year coming up.
It was last month.
Oh, really?
Like in the middle of the month or
Yeah,
something.
they
I'm
usually
thinking
do it
of
around
something-
April.
I'm thinking of something else then, if it was already passed, because this was at Comic Con. This is like coming up next month.
Well, then they're talking about, I have no idea.
There's some other music fest. I thought. I
Yeah,
was
there's so
connecting
many of
to.
them every summer. You know.
Yeah, there was something.
It's summertime.
Well, basically, okay. Guess what?
Don't call it hot.
What's today?
'cause
Is today
it's
the
not.
9th?
Today is the 7th.
7th. Okay. On Monday, in California, Iggy Pop, the Dead Kennedys Without Jello, and the Dwarves, and a lot of good punk bands are
The
playing.
doors without
The Dwarves.
the dwarves.
Yeah. If you knew
dwarves.
Drawers.
I won't make any.
What
the
is-
Dwarves. I won't make a comment on your
On my what?
on your band selections.
Oh, I didn't understand what you were saying. I didn't.
They're
I thought-
good, they're just
I thought you were
vast.
saying the doors.
Yeah.
And then
The
I was gonna
Dwarves.
say,
You should know who the Dwarves are.
Without Jim Morrison, since you mentioned that Jello Biafra wasn't going to be.
When I saw the Dead Kennedys Without Jello, it was really good, actually. I mean, Brandon Cruz did a damn good job, and I had a really awesome time. Actually, I talked to the members of the original members, East Bay Ray and Klaus, for like 40 minutes, and I had the time of my life. But it's kind of weird.
You know, Charlie Daniels is coming to town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he's always
Casey and the Sunshine Band.
They're always
Everybody's
around,
looking
too.
forward to that. I know I'm going to be there. Let's see. What the hell's going on? Of course, the Go-Go's and the B-52s are coming to town.
What year is it?
I don't know.
Smash Mouth, Sugar Ray, Gin Blossoms.
Oh, it's the
I think it's
mid-90s.
1995.
Oh, right now, Alice Cooper and Marilyn Manson are playing.
Oh, so it is 95.
Right now.
We're headed right over there after the podcast.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Oh, there's Pat Benatar and Cheap Trick. Maybe it's not 95.
And they're going to be playing. Yeah, I'm going to see Pat Benatar
wait,
and
Matchbox
Cheap Trick
20.
this
It is
weekend. Next
95.
weekend. You coming with me, Marty?
Oh, of course.
Cool. That's going to be
Lots of
good.
stuff.
Let's go to the Jim Gaffigan show and throw a hot pocket on the
Hey,
stage.
Matchbox
Jim
20,
Gaffigan
dude.
is pretty funny.
Matchbox 20. Sinbad.
Yeah, the wonderful
He was a
stand-up
Star
comedian.
Search winner, wasn't he?
He was on an American Dad the other day. It was pretty good.
How could you have...
He was a Star Search winner. I think he was one of the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the first one.
That's all we got going, Jim?
That's all we got going on that. Yeah.
And that's
God
about
damn it.
all we got going for this week.
Wow, already?
Yeah, it flies when you're looking at the weekly.
How'd you like The Hobbit, Marty?
Have not watched it yet, but maybe, just maybe by next podcast.
All right.
Yeah, Cyndi Lauper, June 23rd at the Fox Theater. I totally recommend you go see that.
Will they be doing the Goonies song?
Maybe.
Which one?
Seems unlikely.
Why is that? It's a great one.
I don't know.
So happy together tour. Who is that?
Oh, that's
Air Supply.
Happy Together, members of the Turtle, Three Dog Nights, Paul Revere, and the Raiders.
Yeah, like a bunch of the English, the British, the.
That's going to be July 12th.
Three Dog Night.
Marty, you hearing this?
Yeah, I'm baffled.
I know, it's crazy.
Haven't seen Air Supply since 1982.
What is Air Supply?
Remember the Air Supply?
What is Air Supply? We're gonna have to end this podcast so
just-
we can subject Steve to some Air Supply, because
What it really meant is
On
who's
vinyl?
in Air Supply again, everybody?
no, I don't have on vinyl, unfortunately.
Oh, not on vinyl.
Which guitarists are in Air Supply?
I don't keep it in the house. Actually, you'll hear us next time.
GMR.